Moving to Chattanooga is a huge mistake unless you can handle these issues. And the first issue is tornadoes. I get this question probably the most out of everything that I can think of is that, do you get tornadoes all the time? I see all this new stuff. So what is the deal with tornadoes in Chattanooga? The last time we got a tornado was probably in 2020. It was a small area of Chattanooga, kind of touched down for a mile, picked up and kind of disappeared. But I want to talk about more of how many tornadoes we get compared to other places in Tennessee and in the country. So let's take a look at the tornado indexes. So as you can see from the tornado index, Chattanooga has a 155 tornado index. And if we compare that to the national average, we're actually above the national average of 136. Now, if we compare to Tennessee though, Tennessee has a tornado index 175. So yes, we're above the national average, but for Tennessee, we're actually below the average. I want to compare that to Nashville. And if you look right here on the screen, Nashville actually has a tornado index of 266, which is way above the national average and the Tennessee average. So that's just something to take into account, is these indexes right here. And also I'm going to put on the screen the average annual number of tornadoes. And this is according to weather.com. And I'll put the link down in the description for it so that you can look it up. They have a video describing everything of how many tornadoes, or the average annual number of tornadoes per state. And as you can see, Tennessee actually gets 31 tornadoes, but if we look at Georgia, they get 40, Florida gets 46, Alabama actually gets 63, you have Mississippi at 64, and so on and so forth. So as you can see from the area, we actually get the lowest amount of tornadoes, and I bet you didn't know that Florida actually got a ton of tornadoes because of all the hurricanes and stuff like that. So yes, we do get tornadoes, but it's not as big of a deal as you think it would be, but that's still something that you have to know. We do get tornadoes, and it is a possibility. The second thing that you have to be okay with is that we have a nuclear silo or nuclear reactor that produces power to the area, and more than likely you're going to live within the 10-mile radius. It's actually located in Saudi Daisy, North Saudi Daisy, but anywhere within 10 miles radius is considered the hazard zone. So I know from a lot of like Facebook groups, you have people that are like, hey, I just moved here, my kid went to school, and all of a sudden they brought back a paper from school stating they have to sign something about you're within the hazard or the radius of the nuclear plant. You know, sometimes it takes people aback, or it takes them by surprise because they weren't even aware of that. But we do have a nuclear silo here that produces a ton of power for the area. Now, I know it sounds scary and it's a thing of the movies with all these, you know, bad things happening. The real issue that we have had was back in 1980 or so, back in New Jersey. There was a partial meltdown of one of the reactors there, but it was contained. So within the US, for the most part, over the last 40, 50, 60 years, it's been relatively safe to have a nuclear reactor silo producing powers, but that's just something that you have to know, something that doesn't really come up on a lot of searches, and unless you go and really travel towards that area, you're not even going to know it's there when you're visiting Chattanooga. But we do have nuclear power here in the area, and something that you have to be okay with when moving here. Hey, real quick, if you guys are moving to the area, we would love to help you. We have helped a ton of people move to the area that absolutely love living here. Reach out to us on the number on your screen or shoot us an email. We'd love to answer questions or get on a Zoom call, or maybe even when you come here, grab some coffee, help answer any questions you need to find the perfect place for you and your family move here. With that being said, let's get back to the video. The next thing we're going to discuss is allergies. You definitely have to be okay with dealing with the allergies that we get here in Chattanooga. Chattanooga has a ton of natural beauty here with all the mountains, but all the mountains have a ton of lush green with, you know, forests and trees and bushes and roses and all this type of nature that produces a lot of allergies. So according to the Chattanooga Allergy Center, the pollution on the scale of 0 to 100 in Chattanooga is actually 86.18. So it's not horrible to where it's like the worst place that you can live for allergies, but it's definitely something that's going to affect you. Now, me personally, I've never really had issues with allergies, but when I moved here from Florida back in 2012, I did have a couple of years of, you know, in the springtime or in the fall time of having to adjust to that type of a seasonality with the allergies. I did have to take a 24-hour allergy medication, but then after a couple weeks, it kind of went away. And now over time of acclimatize myself to the area and it doesn't affect me as much. But if you are somebody that suffers from a lot of allergies, no matter where you're coming from, now if you're coming from cities that are like the top 10 worst in the nation, to Chattanooga, it might be a little bit better for you. But if you're coming from an area that doesn't have a lot of allergy issues, just know that this is something that you're gonna have to deal when moving here. The next issue you're gonna have to deal with is the astronomically high home prices. Kinda. Now, I'm just kind of joking about the high home prices, but if we look at the median price point for Chattanooga or Hamilton County, where Chattanooga is located, the median price point is $396,000 as of the recording of this video in late November. Now, if we compare that to the Tennessee median price point of $389,000, we're a little bit above the Tennessee median price point. But now if we look into the US median price point, it is $434,000. So if we take into account the nation, we're actually well below the median price point. Now, of course, if you look at Zillow or Redfin or Trulia, all these different places, and you look at the history of all the homes, you'll see that the homes were like $200,000 and all of a sudden the last 4 years, they just kind of shot up. But that's the reality of many cities and many places across the country. So if we're looking at the country as a whole or Tennessee as a whole, I believe the houses here are priced relatively cheaper than the national average or just slightly above the median price point of Tennessee, but also Tennessee has a bunch of rural areas that are way cheaper. So if you need something that's cheaper than the median price point, there's other locations within the Chattanooga area that we can look into that's a little bit cheaper, but just know that the median price point is $396,000. The next thing we're going to discuss that could be a huge issue for you is the lack of nightlife. Now, if you're coming from a huge city and you love to go clubbing, you love to go dancing, you love to stay out until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, this is not going to be a good city for you because the nightlife here definitely lacks when you compare it to bigger cities. Now, if you're okay with just driving 2 hours, 2.5 hours northwest to Nashville, totally doable. If you're okay with driving 2 hours south to Atlanta, totally doable. You'll have those big party cities that you can get to kind of just get away, get that out of your system, come back home, and you're good for a little bit. But if you need that in your backyard, this is definitely a huge issue for you because most things here close at midnight, I want to say. I haven't gone out here in a long time, but if you're looking for bars and pubs, there are those things, but for the most part, it's not a huge party city. Yes, we have universities here, and yes, there's a lot of young people here, but the draw to Chattanooga is more about the outdoorsy life and the nature lifestyle as opposed to the party scene and party lifestyle that you can get in places like Nashville or Atlanta. So if you're okay with just, a bar or a pub that stays open till like 11, midnight, totally fine, totally good to go. Restaurants stay open till like 11 p.m. and that's kind of pushing it. You'll find that here. But if you need stuff that's open and that you can party and go crazy up until 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, you're definitely gonna lack that here and something you need to know. Chattanooga is a very active type of city, right? I already discussed that it's kind of outdoorsy. So the things you can find here, you can find rock climbing. I mean, you can even find hang gliding out off the mountains. You have a lot of hiking. You have a lot of overlooks, waterfalls. You have mountain biking. You have road biking. You have triathlon stuff. You have boating, fishing. You have all this type of outdoor nature lifestyle, and that's really the huge draw to Chattanooga. The next thing you have to be okay with is that Chattanooga is not a huge city as far as like the conveniences or like having an Apple store or having a Gucci or a Louis store that you will find here. If you need those things, again, Nashville 2.5 hours away or Atlanta about 2 hours south of us, you can definitely get to those things if you just want to go for the weekend. But as far as like outlet malls and all these different shopping things that you would need, or maybe, Six Flags that you can have in Atlanta, or you have Dollywood that's more towards the Knoxville area. If you need theme parks and you need a lot of things to do as far as that goes, you will not find that in Chattanooga. And that could be a big issue for a lot of people that love to live next to that shopping and those amenities. You will lack that here, and we don't have a lot of that here. But with it being a smaller-ish city, I would say it's more of a medium when you compare the population. Something that you have to be okay with is kind of the growth that is being experienced in Chattanooga. I know a lot of people that move here. One, they love the prices, they love how small it is, but it is also growing. Now, it's not growing as fast as Nashville or Knoxville or other cities in Tennessee, but I believe that Chattanooga is right behind it. It's going to be the next city that's going to start growing really rapidly within the next 5 to 10, maybe 15 years. So we still have a long period before it kind of gets there and starts booming, but I feel like Chattanooga is going to get there eventually, and it is going to grow. With that, we're already seeing a ton of construction happening all over the area with our highways. A ton of our highways are being expanded, causing a lot of traffic all over the place. There's a bunch of national developers bringing a ton of subdivisions here, which is clogging up a lot of the back roads in the smaller cities and the smaller areas. So just know that you're going to be moving to an area that's starting to grow a lot. Now, if you're coming from places like just 2 hours south of Atlanta, when you're stuck in traffic, it's absolutely horrible and you're going to take forever to get home. My dad lives in Atlanta and I know the traffic there. I grew up in Miami. Traffic there sucks. If you're coming from a huge city, the traffic here is not going to be bad at all, but just know that it is growing and you're going to have to deal with that over the next 10 to 20 years of living here. The next thing we're going to discuss that could be a huge issue that you would have to deal with is rain. A lot of people come here from the West Coast where it's a little bit drier. We are getting a lot of people from, Florida and other places of the country where it does rain a good amount, but Chattanooga has an average rainfall of year of 52 inches. Now, if we compare that to the national average, it's 38 inches. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but that's over a foot more of rain a year. And typically the rainy type season is partially in the kind of fall and winter area. And what you can expect is, 30, 40 degree weather with really drizzly rain. Now, that's not appealing to a lot of people. I know I don't like that time of year when it's very gray and gloomy and drizzly rain, but we also get a lot of thunderstorm and showers in the spring, early summer portion of the year as well. So if you're gonna move here, you're gonna need a really nice and good rain jacket, and know that we get a lot more rain than the national average. The next thing I'm gonna discuss is taxes. Now, we don't have state income tax here, just like a lot of other states, which is a huge plus and bonus, but something that we do have is a high sales tax. Tennessee actually has one of the top 10 highest sales tax in the nation. I believe we're at number 9, I want to say, but Tennessee as a whole has a 7% sales tax. And then if you couple the counties that you're located in, they put their sales tax on top of that, which Hamilton County, where Chattanooga is located, is an additional 2.25% for a total of 9.25% sales tax. Now that is pretty high, but then on the flip side, you don't have state income tax. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons for you, if that's something that you're okay with dealing with. But the Chattanooga area does have a 9.25% sales tax, and something you definitely need to know. The next thing I'm going to discuss is airports. Now, this could be a pro or a con. It could be an issue or not an issue for you, depending on your lifestyle and what you need where you live. We have a very small airport here in Chattanooga. I personally love it because I don't travel for work or travel as often, but when I do need to travel, it's absolutely a breeze to get through. I can park my car at the airport terminal parking lot, and I can be at my gate within 10 to 15 minutes. It's absolutely a breeze, never an issue, never super packed, never clogged, so I love it. But for a lot of people that travel for work or travel on a weekly or semi-weekly basis, we only have, I believe, about 8 direct flights, and one of them is to Atlanta, 2 hours south, which is from there you can get a bunch of other flights. So that can be a pain or a hassle because it might be more expensive, or you might have to not take a direct flight and have to take a layover flight into Atlanta or Charlotte or Dallas or other connecting airports. So if you travel a lot for work, but you rather go through a security process like the one we have here, because I know when we fly out of Nashville or to Atlanta, it's absolutely a pain. It takes 30 minutes to an hour just to get through security. Then it's another like 30 minutes to walk or take the train all the way to our boarding gate. So depending on what your wants are, if you're okay with taking a non-direct flight, but the security process is absolutely a breeze, this is great for you. But if you need direct flights because you travel all the time and you'd rather not deal with, connecting flights, this might be a huge issue for you that you need to take into account. The last thing I'm going to discuss today is the walkability about Chattanooga that might be a huge issue for you depending on how your lifestyle is. If you live downtown or maybe even North Shore or North Chattanooga, it might not be as much of an issue for you because it's a lot more walkable. You have a lot more things and shops and bikes that you can get to. But if you live within the surrounding area, whether it's Hamilton County or Bradley County or right over the border into Georgia, Chattanooga has a really bad score as far as public transportation or walkability goes. So according to walkscore.com, Chattanooga gets a 25 out of, I believe, 100 for a walkable score, which means that it's not walkable almost at all except for the downtown area, and it will be a car dependent city. So if you're moving to the area and you want to be able to live somewhere where you can walk to the shops, walk to get food, maybe walk your kids to school, walk to work or bike to work, you are definitely going to have to hone in more into the downtown area, maybe South Side, maybe North Shore or North Chattanooga. That's definitely where you're going to have to hone in. But, you know, living in those type of places that have more of that walkability is typically a little bit more expensive. So depending on your situation, we can definitely try to help you find the best area that will fit your lifestyle and your budget. Again, you guys are moving here, make sure you hit us up, call us. We'd love to help you out. For the most part, Chattanooga as a whole is definitely a car dependent city that you're going to need a car to get anywhere. Well, that's today's video, guys. I hope I was able to answer some questions and bring up a lot of the huge issues that I see when people are moving here and asking us for advice or guidance about moving to the city. We love helping people move here. So if you are looking to move to the Chattanooga area, please feel free to reach out to me on the number on your screen or shoot us an email. We love helping families and people move to the area that want to be part of the community and love Chattanooga as much as we do. So with that being said, until next time, take care and God bless.